This video is called Searching the Education Source Database, and its purpose is to demonstrate strategies for searching the education source database, including how to broaden and narrow results lists, and to articulate the thinking processes for how to make various decisions involved in modifying your searches. Let's say you are working toward a career in special education and you have recently heard about strategies to involve students more directly in the IEP process. One of the major education databases that A&M San Antonio Library subscribes to is Education Source. This database is a great starting point for researching almost all education topics. On this screen, you see that Education Source is already open. Remember, there are many ways to get to a library database, and specifically one that focuses on education. Let's type in a search. We can use the keyword search boxes in a very straightforward way by typing student-led into the first box and IEP into the second search box. Then we're going to click on search. This search yields a total of 18 results. At this point, we should stop and consider if we may be missing potential results for some reason. As you probably know, IEP is an acronym which stands for Individualized Education Program or Individualized Education Plan. Let's see what happens if we adjust our search to make sure we are encompassing all these possible terms for the target concepts. To do this, I'm going to use the Boolean operator OR. And there are additional links to resources for learning how to use Boolean operators in the Researching Education Topics Searching and Monitoring tutorial. The Boolean operator OR is useful for expanding the number of results we are likely to retrieve. It is usually best to put the OR terms at the beginning of a search. So I am going to go ahead and type this in. Typing this in means that I'm going to have to change around some of my words here. So I'm going to get rid of student-led, and I'm going to move IEP up to the first box. And then I'm going to change the AND box to OR. I'm going to type in Individualized Education Plan in the first row there, and then I'm going to add another OR and also put in Individualized Education Program because I've seen it both ways. And then I'm going to use the plus sign to the right of the search boxes here, and I'm going to add another row, but I'm going to have to then go and change the OR for the next box to AND. And here's where I'm going to add in student-led. And now I'm going to try my search again. When we make efforts to include alternative ways to express the same ideas, we can see that our number of results dramatically increases. We went from under 20 titles to more than 3,500. Now that we have a better sense that we are not leaving out results based on their different expressions of the same concepts, we need to come up with some strategies for legitimately narrowing our list of retrieved titles. So, how are we going to do this? Sometimes your professors may tell you that you may only cite scholarly peer-reviewed journals. There is an option in the left-hand column for narrowing our search in this way. So I'm going to click on where it says scholarly peer-reviewed journals on this left-hand side in the refine results column. I'm also going to scroll down a little bit more and also click here where it says academic journals. I don't know why really those two are differentiated, but we're going to be doubly sure and click both boxes. And actually now it automatically updated our results to 1,928, which is better. I am going to look at another option. This option is publication date. So The range of articles covered by this database is 1881, so articles published in 1881 to 2019. I don't think that for most education research topics you're going to need to retrieve articles from 1881. So I'm going to adjust this range. I'm going to focus on the most recent 5 years. I'm going to enter 2014 to 2019. And for this one, we actually are going to click on search to do the updating. And now we are at 367 results, but still a large number, but possibly more manageable depending on the particular scope of your assignment. I'm going to try something here. I'm going to add another row to the keyword search area, and I'm going to add motivation as another term. And clicking on search. That's really interesting because my results list went up to 370, not what I was expecting. So when something like this happens, what I'm going to do first is double check and make sure that the database refine results features kept all the things I had marked before in there as limiters. So I see that in this case it took off the box next to academic journals in terms of filtering the results. So I'm going to click that box back on, and you'll see that I'm still at 367 results. So sometimes, adding more terms doesn't always help reduce the results list. For sake of time here, I'm going to skip playing with a bunch of other options, but we're going to just kind of stick with this list and work through it a little bit more, just looking at what we can do with our results. So one tip that I will throw in here, if you are experimenting with your searches and you do something that really sort of messes up your results list, there is a kind of undo button. If you look below your search boxes, there's a link to something called search history. You can click there, and what the EBSCO databases do, and Education Source is an EBSCO database, is for as long as you are logged in or doing a particular search and you haven't gone away and closed your window, it's going to track the searches that you do. So if you add something or remove something that you don't like, you can actually go back and click on an earlier search and review the results from a list that from a search that you like better. So if we thought that our search for 1,962 results list actually had some better articles, we can go back to that particular list. Again, we are going to stick with our results list of 367 journal articles. And in our example search today, I'm not particularly interested in this article related to schizophrenia, but I do want to show you something related to the first result in our list, this article here. And that is the Find It button. Often when students see the Find It button, they ignore or skip over it. Let's say that for some reason you really did want this article, you should not be deterred by the Find It button. When you click on it, something called the library's WorldCat link resolver service kicks in, and what this does is it attempts to find the article in one of the other almost 200 databases that the A&M San Antonio Library has access to. And in this case, we can actually get to the full text of this article by clicking on the View Full Text link, and it will take us to the article in full text form in another database. So for this video, I'm here back on our list of results, and I'm going to choose another article that might be more aligned with what we are seeking. So I'm going to scroll down, and I'm looking at number 5, smart or not, writing specific measurable IEP goals. If I am involving students in the process of developing their IEPs, like if I'm doing this student-led IEP topic, maybe having a model that they can use as a foundation would be helpful. So I'm going to click on this particular article. Clicking on the title opens up the record page for this article. From here, we can see some additional information. It's easy to see the author's names, the journal title, some subjects that might be useful to us if we wanted to look at other words to add to our searches. But we also see the abstract. And reading the abstract can give you a helpful overview of what the article will cover. In this case, this one's a little short, but we could still possibly find it useful. If we do decide that this article is going to be helpful, we have the link to the PDF for the article on the left, and then on the right we have access to other tools that will help us save, email, print, and even cite the article. I'm going to spend a few minutes on the cite feature just because there's an important warning I need to give you. The citations the databases generate tend to have mistakes in them. So it's really important that you use them only as a rough draft and that you verify your citation style in other accepted resources, particularly the APA style manual or the online writing lab, the OWL at Purdue University. So I'm going to click on the yellow paper cite function, and then I'm going to scroll down till I find APA, and here it is. And already I am seeing one type of mistake involving capitalization that would make this particular citation incorrect. So if I copy paste this, I would need to make those fixes before I would actually submit my references page. I'd like to take a minute to make a few final comments about this video. Hopefully at the end of it you feel like you can apply some of the strategies for both expanding and narrowing searches. The tactics demonstrated were shown using Education Source, an education-focused database, but similar methods will work in other databases. I tried to model a sort of think aloud approach for expressing the thoughts I was having while I was searching. I hope that was helpful to you. Complete the rest of the materials in the Researching Education Topics tutorials for more details and practice.